Hi guys, how you doing? It's Saturday morning. I am just back from the track and I thought I'd just do a quick video just to explain some of the benefits of the running sessions, because I fear, obviously I've not really spoken much about the running sessions, and I thought, I can see James and Tom looking at me from the window there wondering why we're going to football. So I thought before I go into the madness of the house, I'll just quickly try and explain some of the benefits of it. So we've been obviously focusing on intervals the last 8 to 10 weeks. So the primary goal is obviously, or the primary benefit of this sort of running is it's going to improve your aerobic fitness and your cardiovascular fitness, because your heart rate is elevated for a fairly prolonged period of time. Now there is obviously other ways of increasing your aerobic fitness and your cardiovascular fitness, and that is any sort of anything that's getting your heart rate up for a prolonged period of time is going to do that. So a long run, for example, or a cycle or a rower. So there is numerous ways to do it, but the reason that I'm trying to specifically focus on these sort of 20-second intervals is because the interval is quite short. It's allowing you to run at a quicker pace than it would be if we were to say we're doing 90-second intervals or 60-second intervals, because obviously the longer you're going to run for, the more you have to slow down the pace to maintain it, obviously. So the 20 seconds for me is quite a magic number in that it allows everyone to run at a decent pace repeatedly, with as long as there is a decent recovery, in which case it's 30 to 45 seconds. Obviously, if you take it to the other extreme, if I would say, right, we're going to run all out for 20 seconds here and sprint as hard as you could, you wouldn't be able to then repeat that every 30 seconds. You would need a longer rest in order to then replicate the same effort. But we're not trying to sprint all out. What we are trying to do though is run faster than you would if you were just going out a run. And the reason for that is because those faster paces that you're running at the track or the pitch require a higher range of movement, and therefore also a higher muscle recruitment rate. Okay, so for example, you're going to utilize a higher percentage of your muscles in order to run at a faster pace. That's how it works. That's why sprinters are all completely muscular and jacked. It's because to sprint as fast as they do, you need a huge amount of muscle fiber all firing at once throughout the whole body. So we're trying to do things that you wouldn't normally do yourself, and integrate our idea that's going to then benefit you in the weight room and vice versa. So what we're doing in the weight room by strength training and working through deeper ranges of motion is to complement the running you're doing at the weekend, which is recruiting a higher percentage of muscle fibers and bigger ranges of motion because of the slightly faster pace, because you're only running for 20 seconds as opposed to, right, let's just all go a 5k. So that's why we're focusing on these sort of 20-second intervals. When it comes to producing energy in the body, there's a transient sort of transition, not a transient transition, there's a transition between different what's called energy systems. So for example, if you're running as fast as you can for 8 seconds, it's what the energy produced to do that is via something called the creatine phosphate system. Basically, it's if you think of it as a turbo boost. A huge amount of energy can be produced very quickly, but it's very short-lived. So within about 8 seconds, it runs out, the boost runs out, and then you transition to the next energy system, which is slightly producing less producing energy at a slightly less quick rate, but it doesn't slow down, it doesn't run out as quickly, and that would be what's called the LaO2 system, the lactic acid oxygen system. So it's almost a combination of producing energy using oxygen, O2, and the lactic acid system, which essentially produces energy without oxygen. And when you produce energy without oxygen, is a byproduct, and that byproduct is something called lactate. So lactate is that burning sensation you feel in your legs. It's because you're running at an intensity, or you're working at an intensity that is greater than the pace in which your body can produce oxygen to keep up. So there's a byproduct and it accumulates, and the only way for it to reduce is to slow down to a rate whereby you can now just produce enough energy via the oxygen system, or slow down or stop to allow time for your body to take in oxygen, and then for the lactate to then start to flush out your blood. So that's a long-winded way of me saying that when we're doing the 20-second intervals, after about 17 seconds of intervals, that's when the lactate starts to slowly start to creep in. So we're stopping at 20 seconds before there's a build-up of lactate, which is what then allows us to then repeatedly maintain that pace for longer and for more reps. So that's why we're doing that. So you're improving your aerobic system, you're improving your cardiovascular system. Tom and James are now at the side door of the car. There, right? So you're improving your aerobic system, you're improving your cardiovascular system, your VO2 max, but we're also improving like your ability to run at faster rates. Because your body has to get used to it. It can't do it unless it's exposed to it. So we're working the muscles through a bigger range of movement. The first 10 minutes of that session or 20 minutes of that session, we focus a lot on like jumps, for example. That's another component of this stuff that I'm not going to get into here. But my point is like you're utilising and recruiting bigger muscular, bigger percentage of your muscles. The glutes, for example, the hamstrings, the core are all getting significantly worked in these sessions. So that is some of the benefits of it. Obviously as well, it's burning a huge amount of calories, so it can potentially contribute to fat loss if you're focusing on your nutrition and your overall step count. Not to mention the mental benefits of just being outside, getting that sort of dopamine rush and getting fresh air in the sun. So there is numerous benefits to it. I could have gone into probably a bit more of a thoughtful, deeper explanation of everything, but I just decided to make a wee video, and I'm feeling the stress of James and Tom next to me, so I'm just going to go, right? But at least, as long as you know, there's huge amounts of benefits to what you're doing, and you're doing great with it, and we've gradually increased the volume of the running via reps, not necessarily the time. And I don't necessarily want to increase the time of the reps, because I want the focus to be on, if you're going to increase anything, you're going to increase the speed you can, or the distance you can cover within that time. And then your ability to then repeat that over and over again with more reps. Okay, so anyway, hope that makes a bit of sense. It maybe doesn't, because I've kind of not thought this through. I've just been waffling as I've got into the driveway there. So anyway, cheers.